Greetings and welcome back to Switch2Linux. We have our panelists on today. Pardon for the title, I'm still in the process of redoing the title, but everyone can say hello while I redo the title.
Hi.
Hello.
Greetings and welcome back to Switch2Linux. We have our... I need to turn off that volume. There we go. That's better. You guys might have heard a double over on there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so today we're going to be talking about 2019. My title is... I did an oopsie and my title's being stupid right now. All right, we're going to be talking about goals for Linux this year. What in the world? Stop. You. I'm just... Nah. It's been an interesting year. All right. It's already been an interesting year.
An interesting 3 days.
Edit this. There we are. 20. There you go. That's working better now. So we're going to talk about our Linux goals. What types of things do we want to accomplish this year? So be thinking about that. We'll go ahead and start over in the chat, and then we'll go from there. Of course, I need to finish getting this title working. I accidentally saved my title.
I already have a few goals in Linux that I want to accomplish, like stuff that I want to do that involves Linux.
Okay, there's that. Discard those changes. Now I got to redo my title over here. And okay, the title's working. Now let me kick off the kitty cam that the kitty ran away. And that way my computer should be back up to running well again. So, remove you. Yes. And let's go ahead and pull that from the system for now, too. All right. Well, I think I'm finally set up. My apologies. I'm usually more set up and prepared than this, but my Thursdays are very tight on time. So, all right. We have Stevens on. Paul is here. I think Paul went back to work, though, unfortunately. John, and we have Dash Dash. Hey, Dash Dash. Q1 Fiend is on. Jusuf is on. Pizza from Seattle is on. Can I do a stream about Apple's future? Yeah, that stock dropped. If you guys didn't see that, Apple stock dropped. And then, of course, what they blamed it on, of course? People aren't buying as many devices because it's too easy to replace batteries now.
I heard it was from the Chinese market. The Chinese people no longer want to pay Apple's high prices.
It's a combination of things.
That's what the mainstream news went with.
Yeah.
Even though I have to for one product. I have two Apple products. I have an iPad, which was a Christmas gift a few years ago that I don't use. And then I have my Mac. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've even turned my Mac on this entire break.
Quint, if you paid for it, it's okay to use it because you already dove in and spent the money. Just don't spend any more.
Yeah.
Actually, Techlore uses an iPad because there's a very nice teleprompter that he uses for his videos. So you can look into that for your videos. Getting like a teleprompter type thing there. So that's certainly an option. Let's see. Yeah, Louis Rossman probably had something to do with that, I hope. Which Linux is more popular than Mac OS, which is about 10%? Yeah, Mac OS is about 10% market share. Linux is about 5% market share. What do you mean if we should just invert that?
BSD is a 0.01% market share. Last time I checked. Yeah, it's 0.01%.
Yep.
Or BSD.
GNOME is on. Xiaomi, ZTA, and Huawei are killing Apple slowly. They're selling better products for a smaller price, and Apple's making the iPhone more and more expensive and less featured. Absolutely. I agree.
Yep, I agree too.
There's our goal. Stop buying products from silly things. Android has proprietary stuff, and Google owns it. Well, yeah, you can get an open source one that doesn't have proprietary.
I'm still trying to find a phone that would run Lineage. I'm still been researching that.
Mm-hmm. Whoa, I'm hearing no audio. Do we have audio?
I can hear audio.
Okay.
I can.
I'm okay. Well, I'm guessing I'm guessing we're good. Oh, that must have been when the kitty cam was turned on because I disabled all audio on the kitty cam on this feed.
It's coming through on my other browser.
Okay, good. All right, just had to make
I'm
sure.
hearing no audio. Do we have audio? Yep, it just came through.
Okay, there you go. All right, there you go.
So I muted it.
Snazzy Butterflies there. 0.01 is desktop. And Linux users on. Greetings, Louis. How's it going? All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump on into our Linux goals. What goals do we have? We're just going to go, Ben, we'll start with you. What are your Linux goals for this year?
I'm going to take this old HP thin client and turn this into my home theater PC.
Oh, very nice. Are you going to, what application are you going to use, you think?
Probably Kodi.
Yeah, like there's OpenELEC, there's Open Source Media Center. Do you have one of those you're picking up?
Right now, this thing runs Fedora, so I might try and do it with the stuff I have inside. But LibraryELEC was what I ran on a Raspberry Pi for a while, and that seemed to work okay.
I really like OSMC. I think the UI is much better.
Yeah, I think a lot of that just depends on the theme that you have on Kodi, but yeah, the reason we asked Ben is because it's easier. Like if you're setting up specifically as a media PC, you don't want to have to go. I mean, I guess you could set it to auto go into Kodi and auto turn off. All that's doable stuff too. So that'd be a fun project, I guess. But there's the other ones that are all lightened specifically for the task. But that's what I use my Raspberry Pi does is. Serves. I have it plugged into the back of my TV, and that's my smart TV.
Yeah, that's the way I used to do it. But I ended up turning that into a little emulation box instead. So, and then that left my possession. I gave it away. So I picked this up. Phil's Computer Lab actually had a good video on these. And they've got a little PCI Express slot inside.
Yeah, what are the specs on those?
This is an AMD Geode 4-core, 2 gigahertz. It's x86, not ARM like a Pi. It's got an M2 slot, an mSATA, PCI Express, and gigabit Ethernet. The video outputs are DisplayPort. This one has 4 gig of RAM, but it has a standard SODIMM slot.
So you can add more. All right, that's good. Yeah, I think the biggest downside, like, I would like to see if they could do a Raspberry Pi that has, like, gigabit Ethernet without an onboard wireless card. It's like, I want to do with, like, extra security stuff for, like, a VPN. I'd love it to have a gigabit, but no onboard Bluetooth or wireless, so I can
There are a few boards. There are a whole bunch of boards. Explaining Computers does reviews on all of those boards.
Yeah, maybe I'll look into some of those. That would be
the other good one is the AMD it's Asus Tinker board. That one is like the Pi, but it has 16 gigs of onboard eMMC storage.
Nice.
And it also has 2 gigs of RAM.
Very cool. Awesome. Yeah, I'll look into some of those. I still have I actually still have the Raspberry Pi Zero here that I got it last year with the hopes of doing something. I have not done anything with the Raspberry Pi Zero yet.
Same thing with I got one because I got a subscription to the Raspberry Pi magazine, and so they sent me one for free.
Nice. Cool.
Actually, it just ended. I just got the email today that it ended.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to swap it out for Linux format instead.
Yeah.
And then I have a 3, and then I have a 1 too. So I have a lot of them.
Yeah, I have the 2, which is very nice, like a 2B.
Right here. Yeah, I have my 3, which is right here, and it's in this nice little case. This is the Raspberry Pi screen right here, and it's the case.
Is that like a Lego build board on the side?
You can put like stuff on here. But here's the actual, it's called a Smarty Pi Touch is the case. And this is the official Raspberry Pi screen. And then the Pi is right here on the back. I love this thing.
Very nice. That's awesome. That's epic. Yeah. So Ben, that's your ultimate goal is to get a good old media center running with that. And that's a really cool application for a mini PC too. Maybe I should do that, upgrade my system to a regular full-on PC. Of course, it uses more power that way, but I don't know.
This doesn't draw much more power than a laptop. And
yeah,
you could get
this is hilarious. My router draws more amperage than my NAS. And my router is like this big, and my NAS is a mini tower.
You could get an Intel Nook. Those are these little. There's just these little mini PCs made by Intel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll have to see what's on the micro PC market this year. That'd be neat to get just a few other little applications running around. Brian, what are your Linux goals for this year?
Oh, a few. Basically, I want to start phasing out of Windows altogether. I'm still running Windows 7 on a number of computers. And basically, when Windows 7 support ends, I want to be off of Windows because I don't like 10 at all. And I want to be on Linux full time. The possible exception might be my medical office software because it's proprietary practice management software. But I am looking into Red Hat actually has a distro that has an electronic health records module with it. But, I'm not a big fan of electronic health records. So
so it doesn't really matter either way.
Right. Well, what I'm going to do, I want to check that out and see if I could take some of the code out that shares your stuff. It all depends how much of the code is open source. If I could get at the code and take a lot of it out so I have a sealed system and I can use what I want to use, but wall myself off from the outside, I might go that way. Otherwise, I'm going to stick with Windows 7, at least until I'm retired from clinical practice. But I want to get my home media server running Linux, all my big storage, basically just convert everything eventually.
Yeah, I have all my media centers, all my storage. The only thing that's Windows still here is a development computer. That's the only thing I'm still running Windows on. Everything else is Linux, and of course I have the Mac there if I need to boot it up. I haven't booted the Mac up in several weeks.
Well, I think for the masses that are using...
Oh, Dan, still there? No, I think we lost Dan.
But hey, Brian, you're going to be on the Red Hat side with me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm still looking into that, and it looks promising. But Red Hat, it's sort of weird that their stuff is sort of open source, but sort of not really fully type of a thing. So I got to actually get into the code and look at it and see what I can do.
I prefer Red Hat.
Hold on, Quinn. Dan, you're back. What were you saying?
I had a freeze up for a moment. I was wondering what it was.
Yeah, we saw that. You were right in the middle of saying something, and it froze out. So,
well, perhaps they can fix the internet.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, are you on CenturyLink? Oh, I guess CenturyLink knocked out 911 services in like half the country. It was one bad networking card. One card just killed the internet. I actually had clients. I was supposed to be having a meeting about a project out west in the Midwest this week, and it never happened because of that CenturyLink snafu.
Does this have anything to do with credit card processing machines?
Yes.
Okay. Because I went to buy something and they had a big sign, national outage, cash only.
That is one little tiny networking card in Kansas, I think it was. It wasn't completely dead, and so they didn't catch it. It was just spewing out random data. So, yeah, I think Brian Lunduke has had a fairly significant clip on it on his tech news the other day. So, but yeah, I had a client of mine. I'm his web guy. He's a big IT guy, and the thing just basically made him running in circles for a while. But he's right in the middle of that, so it's kind of crazy. Yeah, Dan, what are your Linux goals for this year?
To use the Linux.
To use Linux. All right.
Now,
maintenance here.
I would like, what I have now works fine. I'd like to use more of it, get into some of the applications and do some real work with it. But I need to find the time to do that. As for Windows 7, everybody's all scared. Ooh, they're going to end the support for it next year. Let me tell you something. If you're like me, which is probably most of the masses, you probably stopped getting updates and fear to wreck your installation you already have. So support for it's already ended. And as long as Windows 7 does what you want it to do, whether it be all the way up to 2025, you don't need to stop using it.
Yeah. You just need to be a little bit more careful, make sure it's behind a good firewall, and avoid sketchy sites on the internet, you know?
Exactly. Or don't even use it on the internet at all if you don't have to.
Correct, yeah.
I would like to, I know we're going to have more distros to come out, and I'll take a look at a few of them. I'd like to try Manjaro again. If they come out with something that's a little more stable, then they get their update problem under control. I'd like to try and use that. Other than that, it's just what the future is going to bring is what we'll see to do and try. I know for a fact I looked at a number of videos this past holiday season. AMD is coming out with some killer stuff next year. They're going to come out with the Ryzen 3700 processor. It's supposed to have more cores in it, and it's supposed to clock all the way up to 4.5 gigahertz. They're coming out with a new video card, the Navi line. That's supposed to go up against the NVIDIA ray tracing stuff that's so overpriced. And the prices on this stuff is supposed to be extremely reasonable.
Yeah, I have a Radeon Pro graphics card in my computer here, and I love it. I've had no issues with it. It's great. It barely uses any power, and it was cheap.
Yeah. Mine's, I think I only paid maybe $100 for mine. It's a 4 gig on board.
Mine is,
Radeon
I think it was 180 for mine.
Nice.
Yeah, I overpaid for mine. Mine's a Radeon RX 580, I believe, but I paid like a $250 for it. And shortly after I bought it, the prices on it started dropping everywhere, which kind of made me feel kind of sour, but...
Yeah, I think RAM's so low right now, I'm thinking I might pick up an extra 16 gigs.
Has it come down?
Oh, yeah. Last time I checked, it was half the price, the same exact RAM I have in this computer. It is half the price of when I bought it.
I'm sure I got robbed on RAM, too.
Yeah.
I bought all of my RAM on eBay because it was when it was really expensive, so I just bought all this used RAM. I've had no issues with it. It's fine.
Man, where were you when I was trying to offload all that DDR3 I had? I had like 32 gigs of DDR3 RAM I had to unload when the computer died.
This was like back in July. This was before I discovered your channel.
I was right in July is when I was selling it.
Well, Ryan from one of Big Daddy's channels, he had a video out where he was putting warranties to a test. And if you're like him and you're like me, you don't put much stock in warranties. You buy this stuff, and if it goes bad, you're lucky if you get anything in return. But he said that he had some RAM that went bad, and he wasn't sure if it was bad, and it came down to, well, it's got to be this. I'll call Corsair up and see what they say. And they said to send the RAM to them, and they replaced his RAM free of charge and had a 1-week turnaround on it.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good thing to go.
The computer I have was basically just a piece of junk from eBay that I bought for $80, and I actually turned it into a good computer.
Nice. It's always a good thing. All right, Quint, you're up. What are your Linux goals for this year?
So this is not really a Linux goal. This is mainly just a privacy goal. Is that okay?
Sure, that works.
So this is, I want to put Lineage on my phone, and I want to get away from all of the Google services. I need to find a phone that does it because my phone currently does not support Lineage.
Yeah. I'm telling you, those S7s are looking pretty attractive right now. They support Lineage and they're down to just a couple $100. That's I'm thinking.
And then the other goal is I want to compile Android. I'm not going. This is not the Lineage build. I want to try compiling Android x86 because I've compiled some software, but not very much. I want to do more of it.
Okay, those are good goals.
Phone guys. Okay, when you put Lineage on your phone, before you do this change, do you activate it first, or do you do it before you activate it?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
It don't.
It doesn't matter at all. I mean, you can pop the SIM card out if you need to. It really, I mean, all the carrier checks is there a SIM? Is there the hardware to use it? It
I
doesn't care what else is
contacted
there.
someone Verizon. They said you need to activate it. Do you need to actually do that?
No, they don't even know what Lineage is.
What would I do if I took a phone that had Lineage on it into the Verizon store? What would they say?
Honestly,
That was
they
my
won't.
thought.
Yeah, they won't really know the difference. Honestly,
They will when they start
they-
thumbing through it to play with it.
Yeah, I mean it looks the same. I mean it really looks about the same.
The
Oh,
only
that's for sure.
one of the main difference is that I think it's the Verizon SIM card for the Pixel phones. When you put it in, it even on the unlocked Pixels, it's just all programmed to the Verizon SIM card. It will automatically download Verizon Message Plus, Verizon Go 90, which is their streaming service, My Verizon, and Verizon NFL, I believe.
I'm pretty sure that if you have Lineage, it won't do that.
Yeah.
I have Verizon, and the only thing I have is the My Verizon app, and that's so I can check my data usage.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
You can delete all of them. Like, it came pre-installed. There was some bloat on my phone, but I could delete all of it. Like, I think they're required by Google so that you can delete it.
Man, who wants a bloated phone?
I don't know, man, but
They don't even
who wants a
sound
bloated
tasty.
computer? And that's what Windows is starting to do to us. Yeah. So my ultimate goals, I think number one is enough people have said use LaTeX that I'm going to look into formatting one book this year with LaTeX, not the current one and not the next one because that one's going to be just overly complicated. I'm not going to learn something new on that. But the book coming out, the third book I'll have coming out here, that one I will probably look at doing LaTeX. So I want to learn that. So if you're one of the people that emailed me and said you'd be glad to help with that, I'll be in contact when I get to that. So I want to do that. And the other thing I might try and tackle at some point in time is i3. Just get a simple window manager going and see how that runs. So those are kind of the two major things I'm looking at. And as far as the channel this year, I'm going to redo, this is at the recommendation of Pizza Loving Nerd. I'm wanting to write a rubric by which to evaluate distros on. And so I'll have like a point system to an objective scale, an objective point system by which to evaluate Linux distributions. And I'll probably start with the ones I put on the computer and actually test on real hardware.
You're going to grade them?
Yeah, I want to basically grade them on a variety of things. What's the simplicity of installers? What type of options do we have? What type of software is available? Basic things like that, versions. Just to kind of come up with some idea. So that's kind of what I'm looking at doing. Just a couple ones, and then just migrating some things away from WordPress. That's gonna be fun.
This is one of the things I hope this gets me a bunch of subscribers. I'm gonna do a whole video series on how to migrate your site from WordPress to Classic Press and setting everything up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm moving over from for my biggest site. I'm moving it from WordPress to Joomla. There's an importer, but it doesn't bring images. It doesn't set the categories right, and so I'll import the stuff, and then I'll have to go back in and just fix everything.
I would do WordPress to Classic Press. That would pretty much.
It's Classic Press though will not work for my application, and that's why I'm not. There's too many functionalities that I need that aren't simply not compatible with Classic Press.
Does WooCommerce run with Classic Press or not?
No, it will not. Nope. Anything by Automatic will not run with Classic Press.
Because I've never had I've loaded all sorts of WordPress plugins and themes, and I've never had a single issue on Classic Press.
Yeah, what the reason they're listed as not being supported is because as Gutenberg phagocytizes the rest of the code of WordPress, Automatic is going to be shifting with that, and it's going to be breaking a lot of things. So as of right now that they're so close, diverged off, you're not going to see a lot of issues. But as they move on, what's going to happen is you're going to see a lot of things break. And that's
the only thing I'm worried about is Contact Form 7. Like, even on all the new sites that I've been working on, I still load version 5.0.5 so I can get the old reCAPTCHA.
Yeah, so you're still downloading the old one?
Yeah, You just go, you just go to the advanced view, and then you just download the old version.
Yep, and then the thing perpetually sits there and annoys the bejeebers out of you until you.
Yeah, it's like there's an update available.
Yeah.
I just ignore it. Honestly, I've gotten used to that little icon, the little one icon next to the plugin, so it doesn't bother me anymore.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what people are saying in the comments. If I can find out. Oh, that's right. I had to type something. So, OnePlus 3 is a great Lineage device. So you can look into the OnePlus 3.
The OnePlus phones don't work on Verizon.
Oh, okay. That's
I wanted to get a OnePlus phone. They do not work on Verizon.
Okay. I'd look at that Samsung S7. His Lineage, it works on Verizon, and they're cheap. Even Lineage of kernel blobs. Okay. If you run the NVIDIA settings as an admin, save your X settings with something turned on. With all the distro hopping, can any/most statistics be accurate? That's a good question. Let's discuss that one for a little bit. So I'm thinking what he's talking about, like mostly with Ubuntu, started collecting stats as to how many people are using the system. Can we actually get accurate information on all that? Being is that how many times people test distros and download distros and run them? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, with them collecting data like it is, there's a lot of people that open it up and play with it in a virtual machine. Do they count that as one of their statistics, as somebody using it or downloading it or something? Versus somebody like me that's actually using Ubuntu Mate.
It'll report back that you're on a virtual machine. And not surprisingly, a lot of the installs are virtual machines.
Yeah, because Joe Collins did a complete stats on Ubuntu's thing back in October of all the data they collected. And it didn't really say anything about virtual machines that I can remember. But that would be one thing. One thing that I would take in consideration is real usage over toying with it in a machine. And, how much information are they really collecting?
Yeah. That is a good thing. Brian.
Yeah, that's a big point because unlike Windows, I mean, most people that boot into Windows, they use Windows. Very few people experiment with different types of Windows. But with Linux, Ubuntu, and a lot of people, they'll boot up, 8, 9, 10 different distros in a month or 2 months, play with them a little bit, test them out, and then wipe them and move on to something else and never use it again. So if they're considering every time someone installs it as a user, that's going to be way overinflated.
Yeah.
Now, what about for your classes, Brian? Do you use different distros in the classes or not? Like, do you have people jump around?
Well, my policy is if you feel comfortable with the distro, you're welcome to use whatever you're comfortable with, because what I teach is mainly the bash shell, command module, and Linux fundamentals, which are common to all of them. So I don't really focus on a particular distro. For people that never used it before or people that aren't comfortable with it, I usually recommend Linux Mint, whatever the most current version is, because most of my class come from Windows and Linux Mint is so much like Windows. So for those that don't have a background, I usually go with Linux Mint, and that's what I use in class, except for when I use Kali, which I use when I get into some security type stuff. But my policy is you could use whatever you want. I don't lock them in on a distro.
Well, do you at any point in time, do you have them just experiment with other things just to see the differences that are out there?
I do. That's part of it where, like I said, because I have a diverse student population, I usually recommend they use a VM, or they don't dual boot it, but they kind of unhook their hard drive and install it on a USB stick or an extra hard drive that they're not going to use for anything else. And then I recommend that they run different distros either off a USB, off a external or an internal hard drive that they kind of install separate from their main install to keep the two isolated. And play around with different. I usually recommend Mint, Kali, Fedora is one that I, tell them to take a look at. And sometimes I even tell them to take a look at Red Hat because Red Hat's so popular on the enterprise side of the Linux house.
If any of them are going to be going into computer science, they're going to be using
Right. I've already looked at all the Red Hat. I've used pretty much every Red Hat distro. You can sign up for a free Red Hat developer account and get Red Hat Enterprise for free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that, and then I've used CentOS.
Yeah. Ben, any other thoughts to add here?
Well, I imagine I'm not abnormal in this, but I'll spin up a virtual machine just to try something out. But then if I want like a deeper look, I've got a whole other desktop tower I use just for playing around. It's just a toy. So there's a pair of hard drives in there. I think right now it's got 6 different distros on it just to play with and be fun.
Nice.
So, and none of those installs are going to be permanent either, just in the same way a virtual machine would be. And a little like Brian was talking about, using a second hard drive that, so you're not going to hurt anything important.
Yeah.
And those aren't really any different than having a quick virtual machine either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, Ben, have you toyed with the idea of putting your home directory with all your home stuff on a separate partition than your installation?
Yeah, I used to do that a lot, and I just haven't.
Fedora does it automatically, I believe. I believe Fedora puts home, the rest of the file system, and var on a separate partition.
Yeah, I think so.
I realized that because my home directory has has more storage than the actual system does.
I'm looking at mine right now, and I think you are completely right. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if I go into home directly from the hard drive, it's a shortcut back into a completely separate partition.
The other way to check is if you go into the home folder and there's a lost plus found file. That will tell you also.
Into the home folder?
Just go in the folder called home, not into your actual user folder, but just the one called home.
Okay, yeah, that one. Yep, lost plus found. Yep.
That's a data recovery thing that's on every partition.
Yep.
There will only be one per partition, so that tells you.
That's what I got here. So yeah, that's correct. I did not know that. That's
There's
cool.
probably one in var too. I should have checked that.
Pizza 11 Nerd has a goal to do an app to make an app in UB ports. So that is actually cool and really forward thinking. If you're not familiar with UB ports, this is the company that took over the Ubuntu Touch. And as the Librem 5 phone comes out in a couple months here with the Pure Linux phone, you're going to have Ubuntu Touch, you're going to have Plasma Mobile, and you're going to have the GNOME as 3 separate desktop environments on your mobile device. So he's looking at developing applications for a Linux phone that is not yet on the market. And that's forward thinking.
Now, I tried mobile app development. It's just not something that I've been all that interested in.
We really need more app developers than we do actual distro developers, because there's forks of everything out there now with all different desktops on it. We just don't need any more forks of something. We need more developers of apps.
We need a lot more spoons.
Yes, we need a lot more spoons, and even a few knives.
ARM is slowly moving in on Intel and AMD's turf, yeah?
Yes, they are.
Now, what are your guys' thoughts? Do you think the ARM processors are going to be as good for a laptop usage or not? I'm inclined to say no, personally, but what's your guys' thoughts?
I doubt it.
Are you talking about, because there's that Pinebook thing, right?
Yeah, I was looking at that. I'll tell you, if they could get me one of those things with one of the detachables, screen keyboard detachables, I'd buy that today.
I just seen a video a few days ago. A company replaced all of their processors in their servers with ARM processors because they use 2/3 less power.
Mm-hmm. And that also, though, means using 2/3 less power means it's going to be a less powerful a less powerful processor to get work done.
Yeah, the overall out of all the servers that are in the building, it was a massive building too. It was a major data storage facility, and their claim is that with the ARM processors, the amount of electricity to use to run all them computers and servers and stuff like that would be minimal compared to what they're used to.
Yeah, it depends on the application. So like obviously I don't use this computer for any regular stuff. It's like a power hog, you know. I mean, I turn the thing on and it just, I mean, the power company has to throw another
It
thing of
dims the
coal in
lights in
there,
the
you know?
room when you hit the power switch.
Yeah, but I do most of my regular work on a laptop on a dock because it just takes a lot less power. And so that's kind of the thing is we look for, you know, what's, you know, I don't want to, like, ARM would be great for my writing computer that just needs to run a word processor and look stuff up on the internet. And this is why it's good to have more options. It's just we can't get this one size fits all. And this is why tablets were never going to take over computers, because tablets and computers are used for different things, you know.
I saw one of the this made me think of what you were talking about. This made me think of this. I saw a Lenovo laptop. I think it was like aimed towards students. That was a detachable with a pen. It was a low-end Lenovo laptop, touchscreen, detachable, and has a pen. Which that's what I want in a laptop. And so I think it was reasonably cheap. I can't remember the price. It was about $300, I think.
Well, there you go.
Which probably I may get that to replace my HP Stream. That's the laptop. It's sort of like, it's basically like the same level of laptop as your writing computer. But yeah, I think it's 4 gigs and 64 gigs of storage.
Yeah, Quint, that has the N3060 Intel, right?
Yeah.
The ARM processors are supposed to have far less transistors in them than the traditional i686 style processors.
I mean, they are going to run on lower power. It's just that means that you're going to have lower processes, you know, which in many instances is probably okay. Perfectly honest.
Yeah, in many instances, you don't need that much power. At least not regular people doing regular stuff on a laptop.
Yeah, I wouldn't not want to be doing, you know, video editing and you know, streaming and maybe even web development on an ARM processor. An ARM processor is great for what it's for, but it kind of depends. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd imagine that the number of cores you can keep running per watt on ARM, it would be better tuned for something like a web server than it would be for a a single high performance application.
Correct. And that's probably why servers going to ARM is probably a good thing. It'll save us a lot of power, but why it's just not going to replace everything.
That's another reason why Microsoft's concept of the one-size-fits-all with Windows 10 didn't work with the Windows Phone and that whole bit. Because, like you said, you do different things with different devices. And a one-size-fits-all interface just doesn't work.
Yeah,
I think they could have made it work if they really wanted to, but I think the board members pulled back the money on it, and then they just decided to scrap it. And I think that's been the case with everything Microsoft has came out with that was any good.
Yeah. Hey, this thing is good and popular with the people. Kill it with fire! It's like, yeah.
Costs too much money. Let's dump it.
Yeah. We have this question. What's the best desktop? I mean, KDE, Cinnamon, XFCE, Unity. I mean, Cinnamon all the way, 100%, period. I mean, I'm sure none of you disagree with that, you know?
Yeah, I totally do. Well, Cinnamon's all right. It's at least hay-based, so if I agree on that.
No, it's GNOME-based, actually.
Cinnamon is great for new Linux users coming over from the Windows world.
Yep.
For that Cinnamon, you can't beat it for that.
Yeah. And Quint, you're using GNOME, right?
Yeah, GNOME on Fedora.
So you use GNOME on Fedora. I use Mint, Cinnamon on Mint. Brian, you're using Cinnamon on Mint?
Yeah, mainly for my production systems, Cinnamon on Mint.
Yeah. And Dan, what are you on right now?
I'm using Mate, and it's set up to look very much like cinnamon.
Okay, so you're doing cinnamon
Yeah,
Mate on
yeah.
Ubuntu Mate?
It looks, you can call it cinnamon or XFCE. To me, they almost look the same.
Yeah, they do.
You need to see a picture of my peppermint setup. It looks completely different than the default. I think and it looks really, really good. I'll have to send you a picture.
Yeah, do that. That'd be cool. Ben, what are you running?
I moved this laptop from Mint to Kubuntu, so right now this is KDE. My main desktop is Mint, so that's going to be Cinnamon. And that little thin client I showed you a minute ago is running Fedora LXQt.
Okay. All right, so we have a variety of different desktops here.
Here,
nobody's running Unity? I mean, no. I liked Unity once you got used to it, but then they...
Here, Tom, I found that laptop I was talking about here.
Okay, let's see.
It's this right here.
Ooh, that's pretty. So, okay, so you need one with a pen so you can write on it.
I want one with a pen, yeah. It's designed for students, is what it looks like. See, yeah, it says finish your homework, so it's obviously designed for students.
Man, I need to get me that so I can finish my homework.
Let me look at tech specs here. So, you can get it with you want to go with Windows 10 Home. That's going to be a lot easier to put Linux on.
So it's an Intel Celeron.
N3450.
Yeah. What? That's a bad processor. That is just not good.
4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs.
Yeah,
of
the
storage.
processor on that thing's a bottleneck, though. I mean, would you guys agree or not?
I didn't see it. What is it?
It's
That's
one
a dual core, right?
I can't. Is that a dual or a single?
I don't know. I'll look. Let me look it up.
Yeah, it doesn't say, but it's 1.1 gigahertz to 2.2 gigahertz.
Well, that's so when you have it in your lap, it doesn't cook your legs.
Which Celeron was it?
I'm looking it up right now. Here we go.
All right.
So let me see. It's from 2016.
Quad core?
Wait, it's quad core, I guess.
What? N3450? Go back to that page.
Here.
Is that really the right one? N30. Wow, that is a quad core. Huh. Maybe it's not that bad then.
Yeah, this is Intel's ARC website, which is like the thing where you look up the specs.
Okay.
Do we get a deal if we buy them in bulk?
Yeah.
The only thing is you do have to pay extra to get the pen.
Of course.
I'm not sure if the pen would have compatibility, though, with Linux, would it? I don't know.
They work. Like if you're using Krita, it would work.
That's right. That was work. Huh.
Because it's like a Wacom tablet.
Krita is a finger drawing program if you have it on a touch screen unit of any type.
Yeah, here, let me look at view. Okay, so these are the different. This is the one with the pen. And you're actually going to want to get the one with the pen because it has Windows 10 Home on it. And I assume Windows 10S would be a lot harder to actually like get into the BIOS and everything.
No, Windows 10S is a chopped down version of Windows 10. It's got a lot of stuff stripped out of it.
I mean, I imagine accessing the BIOS would be just the same. So
yeah, but this is the one with the pen here.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd have a use for the pen. I got a pen with my Surface Pro 1, and I've used it exactly one time.
Everybody in my family that's got something like that with a pen, they're into artwork.
Mm-hmm.
It would be interesting just to try it because I would like to draw. I would want to serve as sort of like a tablet.
If you're a doodler, the pen's for you.
Yeah, I want to get something like that, something small like that I can have like a tablet mode on running Linux. I tried one with a computer a while back. I could get stuff on it, just not well.
I'm trying to run GNOME on this because GNOME is optimized for touch screens. And the other issue is that laptop that I have was running 328 because it was Ubuntu 1804. So that's probably why it was so slow.
Let's see. Alex says, what would people do when Windows 7 support ends? Nothing.
There's there's another one here too. There's the 100E. There's all these other small models. This one may not be touchscreen though.
It almost looks like it would be. It looks like it has a full hinge, but maybe not. Maybe it doesn't have a full hinge.
It bends back like that. Let me go to text specs. I don't think it's touchscreen. It doesn't look like
Yeah,
it's
it doesn't look like it.
It has this. Oh, this one is this the same processor? I can't. No, that.
No, that's 3350.
So you get a faster processor with the 300E.
Okay. Bloat on Androids is getting ridiculous, especially annoying that you can't delete a lot of it without rooting. Ooh, yes, I agree. Ben's on. How's it going there, Ben? Tried for weeks to install Lineage OS on my LG. Unstumped on doing it without TeamViewer help, so I gave up. Huh. See, the DOS boss is creeping in on Quint's territory. He says hello, y'all. Actually, he says hi, y'all.
There was another guy, Lord Annex. He started saying y'all, and then I told him that was my line.
You know, the thing with this stuff is you buy it and you spend a lot of money for it, and it depreciates really fast.
Yeah, that's why I always keep an eye out on eBay for when someone's selling things like that. Okay, so Lix is LYX is a latex-based program that's supposed to be easier and has book templates, so it's modifiable. All right.
What exactly is latex?
It's a kind of like a markup language. It's used for doing like book formatting and things. Mostly, I'm a little bit leery of it because it's more for scientific journal articles.
Because that's what I looked it up, and it said stuff about scientific journal articles.
And the thing is that I mean, I have a doctorate in that stuff. I'm well versed with that world, and I'm also a publisher, and so there is a vast difference between how you set up an article in a scientific literature and how you set up a book. So I'm suspicious, but I will look into it further and make a more informed choice later. No, I lost my place.
Oh, don't do that.
I have hundreds of comments. I'm losing my place.
Yeah, Toss is even in there.
Oh, Toss is in here. Hello, Toss. If you're here, I haven't seen your comment yet.
Yeah, he's been going along.
All right. Well, greetings, Toss. We got to get back together again soon. Check in English bod stream. Might find answers. Okay, for that. Let's see. A lot of people talking to each other here. In fast moving chat, if there isn't a question mark, I don't pay much attention to it.
Yeah, Tom, I don't know if this laptop is detachable.
I don't think it is, but the wraparound is probably would serve my ends.
Yeah.
Which is probably better. You won't actually drop, lose your keyboard somewhere.
Yeah.
Tom, do websites track the OS as well as the browser? If so, web stats would be more accurate. Yes, Google Analytics does at least. You can see what operating system someone's using. So yes. Lineage is having a lot of updates recently, daily, kind of annoying. Yeah, don't install Lineage updates. I'd say right about now is the last time you want to install a Lineage update until March, or not March, about May or June.
Somebody just needs to tell them to stop because it's really annoying.
A lot of people have told them to stop. They don't seem to care.
Well, what they need to do is they need to make it optional. They just need to put a toggle thing in the settings that says turn on pranks.
Hey, Quint, drop a comment in there. John's asking for what's the name of your channel. So that's Quint Berkeley.
Yeah, it's just Quint Berkeley.
He'll have a comment in there somewhere, and he'll drop one in there for you, John.
I should get the video up tomorrow.
Yeah. Collie is for script kiddies. Brian, are you a script kiddie? He's a script kiddie.
Yeah, there's a script kitty.
That's really what his distro is. He uses Puppy or he uses Collie because he's a script kiddie. All right.
Yeah, I have a scaredy kitty around here somewhere.
So what distro does your cat use?
Scaredy cat?
I actually haven't used my terminal in a month or two. I wonder if that's a good thing.
No, that's not. I have to pull up the terminal every day in Fedora.
Why?
It's an addiction.
Because it's easier. It's easier to type sudo dnf update instead of going into the software center and doing it all.
My software center in Fedora actually stopped working.
My
I can't seem to
Ubuntu
check for updates
updater
anymore.
pops up every other day.
And that's one of the reasons I hated Ubuntu is because that updater thing was so annoying.
If you just get in there up every day and sudo apt update upgrade, then it
You
wouldn't
can
do
change. You can change it daily, every 2 days, every 5 days, or every 14
What I don't
days.
understand is why they use that, because you can do in Fedora all the updates are either command line or through this GNOME software. Like OS updates are through GNOME software.
You can also run a script. I wrote a script, that goes out and does the updates all automatically by just clicking on it.
Yeah, so of course this is Fedora KDE. I see that I have 15 updates, but the update all box is checked. I can't actually update any software. So I have to do my updates through the terminal now.
Discover, because you're using Plasma, right?
Yeah.
You guys are on that RPM stuff, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the RPM stuff better.
It works a whole lot better in the terminal than it does everything else.
As long as you don't over rev it.
The main thing I like about RPM is you don't have to type in you don't have to do update upgrade. You can just type upgrade, and it does it all automatically.
But there's a downside to that. The downside of that is in apt you do your update once, and now you can just go through and install several applications without waiting for it to check and upgrade every single time you want to install something different.
But I've never really had any issues with that. It doesn't bother me. But the thing is, when I go on a computer running apt, I always forget to do that because I'm so used to doing it automatically.
Who else is on Windows in the chat? Any other Windows users? Kyrie Holmes really wants to know. Not that you're going to admit it on my channel.
Yeah, do you want to see that? Well, it's actually not a super old laptop. It was my dad. Everybody else in my house has a Mac.
What is wrong with your house, man?
My mom was the first person to get it because she does video production, and so she had to have a Mac. And so then everybody else followed along. So my dad got one, and he got rid of Windows, that's still an improvement.
I have an iPhone, Quint, and I'm not going to buy a new phone just because, I spent a lot of money for his phone. I'm going to milk it until the guts in it don't work no more.
And then, me and my brother have one because we have to have it for school.
Which is so exciting. It's like, hey, you were...
It sounds like brainwashing to me.
Yeah.
It's for all the accessibility technology that my school uses that I don't even use.
Yeah.
Your school should hand out your iPads or whatever for you to use for the entire school season at their expense, and at the end of the year, take them all back.
We had something like that last year, but we had to have a laptop too. So you have to have a laptop.
You have to have a laptop to go to a public school.
But this is
you
not
go to a private school.
I go to a private school.
Okay, now I'm on the level. I know what you're dealing with.
However, the public school in my town does require every student to have a Chromebook.
Right, and where I go, well, I don't go, my son goes. Where my son goes to public school, every student has a MacBook, but the school provides it. They hand them out the beginning of every year, and then at the end of the year, they collect them.
And that's just so wonderful for the tax dollars, and so great of us to be supplying with Apple's.
Yeah, and they work so horribly, but every student has to have one. So we have the one Apple product in the house is my son's MacBook, and then I have one on my desk at the college that belongs to the school. But otherwise, I avoid Apple products.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really think the public schools should supply that stuff, and at the end of the year, they can take them back. They can put them on eBay if they're obsolete, and get get their money some of their money reimbursed.
I think from the education standpoint, we need to learn to rely less on technology.
I know.
For me, as somebody who's, I mean, I've got after high school 10 years of education and taught in the college setting. Every time you start introducing an element of technology, the brain cells in the students just.
Let me ask you this: do you get your textbooks on your device that you're using?
Yeah, there's a website. It's called Pearson Realize. Where you
So
can
the
get
school ain't
Pearson
even giving you
textbooks.
paper books anymore.
No, they don't even buy them.
Well,
Oh
and
man,
that was.
if I had a kid in school, I'd be down there with a baseball bat immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I
That's
agree.
just me.
I agree completely with Tom, and I'm involved in teaching right now at the college level. And first of all, I agree with him in that the more technology you involve, plus my teaching, I have a son who's in high school now, so I've seen it from that end. The more technology driven they get, the worse the education's getting. And another thing that's sort of, in my opinion, breaking it down is online classes. Online classes, I don't think you get nearly as good an education as you do when you actually go in face-to-face with the teacher.
I just get so upset with the educational system. I'll try and keep my temper in check, but
Mike W.
They've so much away that they used to have. You get so much more little, you get so much less, but they ask for so much more.
Yeah, and that's all of the textbook companies, of course, they wanted to first, it was constantly updating the editions so that they could just keep on pushing out a new thing every 3 years. So it makes the used book market obsolete. So then people have to buy the new books at least every couple years. And then now they're doing this shift where you're renting a PDF and it still costs close to $100. It's like, it's so insane. It's a digital item. It should not cost that much money. Period.
It's
This
getting
is
down to
actually not a PDF.
It's getting down to the point. What do we need the schools for? The kids can stay home and do all their classes from the living room, and we don't need to send them down to a building where there's a bunch of other kids, because all the teaching will be done through an iDevice, laptop, whatever you're using.
Yeah.
And then the quality of education goes downhill.
It's going down as we're sitting here.
Quality of education is so downhill now that I advise people don't go to college unless you need that certification for your job, because it becomes a waste of your time. I know somebody right now that's just wanting to get into this kind of content creation type stuff, doesn't have any time for it because it's so much busy work in the school. It's just and what are you learning? Not much. And then this one baffles me, where you're required to go to school, but then leading up to the end of the days, leading up to the big holidays, the kids are still required to go to school. You're penalized if they don't go to school, and they sit there and watch movies all day.
That's what happens a lot in our school.
Yeah, it happens all over.
Yeah, us older people, it comes right out of our pockets every time we got to pay taxes.
Yep.
That's why I'm fuming.
Yeah. Ben, thoughts on this education mix?
I'm just watching the show.
Watching it unfold, huh?
So
I'm right there with you guys.
Mike W. just said, maybe suggest you'll do a course on installing Fedora on their Macs. LOL. I know my IT person does know what Linux is, but I don't know if she's even used Linux before.
Yeah, I've heard of that once.
Everything runs on Apple. They're like the file. Well, what happened? So a few years ago, we used to have a local file server, and we had Microsoft Word. That's how we would do all of our stuff. But then they moved it all to Google Drive.
Mm-hmm. And I found
the
out
local file server ran on Apple. It was the the AFP, the Apple File Protocol thing. So you can only access it from a Mac.
Oh, joy.
Yeah, that's so when you get out of school, you can say, I'm an experienced Mac user. Apple's already putting from the get-go, they're brainwashing them to be Mac users in their infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. Censored Tech. Does the kid use Linux? Yes, the kid is Quint and he uses Fedora.
No, Dan, that wasn't any different than when I was in school, when there was one computer in the classroom and it was always a Mac Classic because it was already old and worthless at the time. And there might be one PC in the library somewhere, and heaven help you if you needed to bring a file in from home because there wasn't a Mac edition of Microsoft Office yet. And what was it? ClarisWorks? Was that the Apple one?
Yes, I remember that.
I don't know
Apple
because computers didn't exist when I went to school. We used paper and pencil, and we lugged around mounds of books.
Yep, I remember those days.
No computers. Kids went out and played in the street and everything else. The teenagers all got into muscle cars or some kind of hobby like that.
I remember.
Until computers showed up, then we got into bulletin boards.
Yeah.
Yes, John. I'm probably like the only Mac user who uses the terminal.
Hey, I use it on my Mac from time to time.
The whole Mac file system sucks. How Apple's always obsessed with putting everything in a library folder. Like, you'll find, like, everywhere you search on the system, there'll be a library folder.
Well, they don't want you to monkey with it too much.
So have you seen, Tom, if you actually push in Finder, I think it's control, or no, it's command, I can't remember, it's Command-Shift period that enables hidden files in Finder.
Mm-hmm.
It only works on, I think, Mac OS Sierra and later.
I thought there was a way to see hidden files.
You have to. There's a terminal command for older versions.
Yeah.
I don't like the Mac file system because it's basically the Unix file system, but all rearranged. Like, for some reason, Apple put etc, temp, and var in a directory called private in the file system.
And
then
I know you can still access Etsy just.
Yeah, there's a shortcut. They put a shortcut.
Yeah, okay.
But the actual location is in this folder called private. And then the other thing they did that's annoying is the root home directory is inside var.
Huh. Weird.
Which I think is weird.
Huh.
It's basically the Linux file system, but all messed up. That's all it is. And there's also, all you see when you go to the root of the Macintosh drive is system library. It's system library applications users. But if you enable hidden files, you can see all the old Unix files and everything.
Wow.
But Apple moved, even the kernel is in system library kernels.
Yeah, Apple's just weird.
It used to be in the it actually used to be in the root directory, but then with in the earlier versions of Mac OS it was, but then they moved it to system library kernels. And you can the Mac OS kernel is open source.
Huh. I did not know that.
Yeah, John, Mac terminals do come with Bash. Fortunately, yes, they do come with Bash. I don't know what I would do if they didn't.
Yeah, and you probably are, one of the only person in your school that uses the terminal in Mac.
And it sucks, too. It's like the worst terminal.
Yeah, I've had to use it. I use it a lot to redirect host files for experimenting with things.
And the other thing is the Macs don't have an fstab file. They do have a host file, but there's not an fstab file.
They're afraid of getting stabbed.
System library volumes is where all that information is stored.
Interesting.
And the other thing is there's a whole bunch of other kinks in the Mac file system. There's something I was going to say. I can't remember.
I'm going to go ahead and feed the kitty now, and we'll probably wrap up the live stream part of this here in a few minutes. But
yeah, I'm trying to. I'll think of it. There was another kink that I was going to say. Oh, it's about the Mac kernel. It's called Darwin. It's open source. You can download it from opensource.apple.com. It's a secret website that's not listed on Apple's homepage.
And what's it called?
Opensource.apple.com is where you can download the Mac OS kernel. It's called Darwin. I believe that's what they run on their servers. It's basically just a BSD based. It's based on FreeBSD, I believe.
So it's Darwin. So it's all a lie, right?
Yeah, it comes all the way back from Next. It was Next's FreeBSD kernel that they basically ported to, which basically became Darwin, and then that became Mac OS. But it doesn't really do anything. Like, you can't run Mac OS apps on it. It's impossible. Like, it would basically just be using Linux, except with a whole bunch of unnecessary. It still comes with all those unnecessary folders, I believe.
There was another cat here a minute ago, but I think she ran off.
When I first started using Linux, that's what my weirdest impression was, is I'm looking at the root and all these weird named folders, like ect and var, and I'm like, what is all this stuff?
My first ignorant computer use, I got a computer, and of course it didn't have a lot of space on it because it was an old thing running DOS or whatever. I'm like, I don't know what all this crap is, so delete all this stuff. Didn't go well.
I guess not.
I honestly want to see a new Linux user do that. They click on the root file system and they say, what the heck is this bin thing?
Yeah, that's the same thing that's inside the Windows system folder on your computer. So I will be doing another live stream on my Christian channel in about 1 hour, 9 o'clock Eastern. So for you guys, and what we're going to do is do any final wrap-ups that we might need. So let's do a final wrap-up on the goals, then we'll go through the comments, and we'll jump off the live stream here. So Ben, final thoughts and goals and stuff for the year?
Well, I got the home theater PC to do. I got an old hard drive to RMA, and I'd love to turn a Pi Zero into an MP3 player, and everybody else.
We lost a little bit of that at the end, but
everybody needs to have a couple projects this year, so
that's right.
Go find a few that interest you.
So everybody find a couple projects to do and learn something this year. Learn something. Brian.
Okay, basically, I'd like to build myself a new computer from scratch and have it be a little more high-powered than anything I have now, and put Linux on it natively, and maybe have a secondary drive where I'll keep, Windows 7 that I could still run offline, because there's some programs I still like to use. But for that machine, I want Linux to be my primary OS and the only OS I go online with. I also want to check on getting my medical software, whether I can adapt mine to run on Linux, or I go to this Red Hat version. If I can, modify that enough, I'd like to, get as much into that as I could, and then try to bring my systems together into a more coherent network, so to speak.
What is that distro called?
Brian, do you got an idea how you're going to do that?
Well, I'm formulating it as I go along.
Well, here's what I did is I hadn't built a computer probably in 8 years. So what I did is I kind of thought about how fast a processor and what kind of processor I wanted. So when I settled on an AMD Ryzen-based processor, then I went in to select a motherboard that I would want.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I kind of calculated how much RAM that I really needed.
Yep.
And then after that, I kind of calculated how much power I would need from a power supply and how many drives I was going to run on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a big long list of all this stuff, and I used the websites to kind of get names of stuff. And then I walked into Micro Center and showed him, this is what I want to do. Can you help me? And I had to beat the guy up a little bit because he was trying to steer me in other directions. One thing he did point out, the motherboard that I wanted he told me that it wouldn't work with the processor. I was going to do it unless I downloaded the BIOS and upgraded it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bother with that. You have a motherboard that I don't have to do that to. And it had to be, Asus has a motherboard that's one model newer that's already got that done. Fine, give it to me. But these are the little things you want to kind of look around online and get an idea of what you want. And you've got cables to consider. Your video card's going to have a special cable configuration. You're going to have your SATA cables, which come with the power supply, and
right.
If you go to PC,
it comes
part
together.
Picker, PC Part Picker has the guides where you start with a CPU, and that's going to give you every other product that's compatible with it. So you can actually build your system. So starting out with the processor. So like here, I'll pick this guy here. And then you're going to add this. And then it's only once you start getting a system in place, then it's only going to start giving you products that are compatible with what you already have.
Yep.
So it's going.
Part Picker.
You want to make sure your motherboard that you purchase fits in the case you are going to use or going to purchase.
So I just threw. Let me switch over my view here so everyone can see what I'm looking at right here.
And that's why PC Parts Picker is so good, because they tell you all of that.
Yeah, so right here, it's like I added these things, and it says, oh, warning, these parts have possible incompatibilities. So apparently there's some compatibility issues with this, with the board that I've selected. So you might want to say, let's not use that board. Let's look for a different motherboard instead.
Yeah, I've used them before. They're really good.
Yeah, and then of course I didn't buy the parts from here. I put everything together and then just went ahead and bought it on somewhere else. But anyway, that's a great place to go with if you're looking to build a computer.
I thought about building a PC, but it was just it just seemed like too much work.
It's not really. It's something you pull out your kitchen table out and put all your junk on it, and you just start put your motherboard and your power supply in it, and kind of get an idea of the layout, how things are going to turn out, and then it all just kind of goes together. You gotta have some patience, though.
I never really thought about. That's why I just bought this, and it was cheaper just to buy this other PC and fix it up, and it gave me like the same amount of performance.
Yeah. Dan, your final thoughts.
My final thoughts is I'm going to try some more distro hopping as they come out and look more appealing. I might give the Manjaro XFCE another spin if they can get that under control. I have this other Windows machine that I got in the corner over here that used to be my old computer, and I'm thinking about wiping that out and maybe putting another distro on that. I just get rid of the Windows 7, and I got it in a virtual machine, and it's lasted 6 months like that. So it'll probably last another 6 months like that. So I think that's where I'm going to go. I'll probably use more and more of the Linux-based software as I'm getting used to using it. I've done some fiddling around with Krita. For some reason, I kind of click with that a little more than GIMP.
Yeah, there's the layer properties and things is way better on Krita. I'll have to look at Krita again, see if they resolved that text issue. The last time I looked at it, which was over a year ago now, they said they were aware of the problem and it was their #1 priority to fix. So
my cousin uses it faithfully, and he's got it on one of those like convertible laptops.
Yeah,
with the touch screen and the pen, and he does all kinds of drawing and stuff with it. He loves it.
One of the challenges I have moving forward is GIMP 210 does not compatible. The beveling does not work with fonts for whatever reason, and so if Krita resolved that layer properties, the layer properties on Krita is way a selling point over GIMP. That's one of those functions that I use in Photoshop a lot. And so it's not in GIMP. I can get around it. I don't have to have it. But if GIMP 2.10 starts breaking on core functionality that I need, and Krita has resolved the one problem that prevented me from using it, you might see me switch to Krita this year. I don't know.
I would be happy to see some of these distro people that are just piecing together different desktops on a distro and different theming and stuff like that. If they would get involved with an app or a software project for Linux.
Mm-hmm.
And that unfortunately that's a little beyond me, but
yeah.
Yeah, the other thing, I didn't mention this, but I'm going to try to do some stuff with Kali. I got a book for Christmas on Kali.
You hacker.
And the funny thing is I got my aunt or my great aunt who knows nothing about computers to buy the book for me. And so she was probably like, what the heck is this?
Yeah. Buy this for me, Auntie, and I will hack in your computer next week, all right? All right. So is that your final thoughts there, Quint?
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
And Lineage on my phone, compiling Android in Kali.
All right. Sounds
And
good.
then I always mess around with stuff. Like I never keep stuff. Like that PBX thing I was messing with, I tried that for a little bit and then I just got bored with it. That's what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's see, Censored Tech. So Censored Tech, I hope to see you on the other channel. We can discuss more freely some of the Christian stuff if you want. Of course, I take questions and stuff over there. Earl just found SwitchedToLinux a couple weeks ago. Well, welcome on board, man. Yep, we do live shows from now until like Saturday morning, and then let's see what else. So people are saying Newegg is good for compatibility of parts as well, I guess.
you're hard to miss. You're on almost every day.
Well, I at least do a video every day, but the live ones, are on a schedule. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the live stream part of this. So we had an average view duration is only 12 minutes. That's weird. But we peaked at 83 with 60 currently, 414 playbacks, and a pretty high chat rate. So thanks for coming along, guys, and we will catch you tomorrow. Well, tomorrow's Friday, isn't it? Tomorrow for the news!
Yay!
The news! All right, so what this crazy world's been up to this week.
I will
All right,
never miss the Friday night news. That is my favorite thing.
That's
Very
a lot
good.
of
Good
people's
enough.
favorite things.
Good. That's what's hilarious. It's one of my lowest view counts too. But oh well, I enjoy doing it.
Friday night, even myself, I have to get out of the house and do something different than sit in the house or go to work.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we will catch you guys later. Sorry, Linux Daily, I'm jumping off, but I'll be on my other channel here in about 45 minutes. So we will catch you guys later.